Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Independent Olive 776 from the Entitled Parents subreddit and says, "Parents want my entire paycheck." Okay, so I, 16 female, just got my first job like a month ago. Last week, I got my first ever paycheck, which was really exciting. Now, one of the main reasons I got a job was so I could cover some of my own non-essential expenses. Clothes, stuff for hobbies, room decor, some food. Since my mother, 52 female, is a stay-at-home mum. Always has been, and I didn't want to be a burden for my father, 56 male. Before I even got my first paycheck, I'd budgeted exactly how much I wanted to spend and what I wanted to spend it on, since I didn't want to blow it all. My plan was to save at least half and spend what I didn't save. I'll admit, I did spoil myself a bit. Got some new clothes, a new sewing machine, and gonna get nails done. All of this was like $180 out of $500, but I also gave a portion to the church, as per my mother's request. I plan to put the rest of this in savings and not touch it. My mother is terrible with money, like blow through $800 in one day type of terrible. She's also always asking someone in my family for money like my dad or my siblings, 22 male and 21 female, and usually they give it to her. But my sister's rent has went up and her work hours have been cut, so she doesn't have any money to give out like she used to. My brother isn't working because he's only home for the summer. My father also has some new expenses to pay, so basically, nobody has handouts for her anymore, so she decided to come to me. Since I first received my paycheck, she's been acting kind of weird. Like when I got it, she wouldn't leave me alone until I told her how much it was, even though I wasn't comfortable sharing that information with anyone. And then she started talking about how in her culture, I'm a first-gen American, the entirety of a child's first paycheck is given to the parents as an offering and way to show thanks for raising them. I told her that it's a good thing I wasn't born where she was, so I don't have to do that, and I thought she would stop. But then she brought up how it's been so long since she got a pedicure. It's been literally 3 weeks. I said okay, and then she asked me if I would pay for it. I gave her $30, how much our regular nail salon charges for pedicures, and she got upset and said it wasn't enough. I told her that I didn't have any more to spare, and she said I was being greedy. Okay. Whatever. Then we went grocery shopping, which she paid for as usual, with my brother's EBT card. I got a few snacks and ingredients and my food came up to like $27, which isn't bad since I share my snacks with my siblings and I cook for them too. But then my mother starts complaining like, if you're going to eat all that, then you're going to have to start paying for it too. It's rude to try and bankrupt your brother. I was upset that she was making comments on my eating habits. She's always making comments about my body, and also frustrated that she was trying to milk more money out of me. So I just told her to put all my snacks and stuff down and that I didn't need them really anyway. She even got more upset and said I was making a scene and being spoiled, but I just ignored her. The thing is though, it's not just her. My father is acting like this too. First I took a shower. I do take kind of long showers, like usually 30-ish minutes, but this was never a problem until now. He literally stormed into the bathroom like he actually slammed the door open. Super uncomfortable for me, but whatever. And told me that if I was going to be wasting his water, then I'm going to have to start pitching in for the water bill. And he was serious. So now I don't shower when he's home to avoid conflicts like this. And then he told me to give him $50 to send to his family back home. I asked if he'd pay me back, and he said he shouldn't have to, since he never asked me to pay him back for raising me. Basically, I didn't know. Maybe I'm actually being too stingy. They're not wrong that they never asked me to pay them back for raising me, so maybe I do owe it to them. But also like, I really don't make that much, and I think I should be allowed to spend my money how I want to. I'm literally going into my senior year, which is so expensive already. I don't want to spend all my money in case of an emergency. I just really want to save, and they're not letting me do that. But I don't know if they're entitled or maybe I am, so sorry if this is too long. ETA, and oh my god, I don't know how I forgot this, since this was actually really upsetting and the whole reason I made this post. But like a few days ago, I fell asleep on the couch, with my phone unlocked, I guess. And like right after I dozed off, I feel someone grab my phone, which was next to my head, and so I wake up. I look at her all confused and ask her to give it back, and she did. But she forgot, or doesn't know how, to close recently used apps. So when I opened the phone, I saw that she opened the Zelle app. And I don't want to accuse her of anything, but I feel like if I'd woke up any later, she probably would have sent herself money or something. I don't know, but that was really weird. ETA 2, this has nothing to do with my title/story, but my mother just told me I was disappointing because I told her I'd vacuum later since I have really bad cramps right now. Rude. Edits. I took a break from this post because I was overwhelmed by all the comments and advice, but thanks everyone for reading and mostly being patient and helpful. Respond to a couple of things I keep seeing and clearing things up. 1. Sorry for taking 30-minute showers. 2. Sorry that it's a tough pill for me to swallow that a bunch of strangers on the internet are calling my parents abusive. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I seriously appreciate that you're all trying to help. But I'm not refusing solutions, or it's just a lot to handle by myself. 3. I'm kind of against talking to a trusted adult about all this, but it's not willful ignorance or anything. I don't have any close family, so the only options would be a therapist or a school counselor. I can't see a therapist because my mother is anti-therapy, and talking to a school counselor is risky because she's required to tell CPS. In a case like that would put my mother in pretty high risk of deportation. It's pretty personal and I don't want to get into it, but there's that. 4. I know it sounds like I'm being forced, but I'm seriously a practicing Christian, and I enjoy going to the church. I never minded giving to the church. It was just that the amount I was expected to give, 10% of my pay, was a lot considering what I was earning. Thanks again. I just find this incredibly sad, and I feel so sorry for the OP in this situation. It feels immediately soon as she got that job, they turned on her like that. And it also sounded like the siblings have been through this as well. And father bursting into the bathroom while you're having a shower, it's just all kinds of wrong. A deleted commenter says, if you have another adult in your life that you trust, get them to open an account with you because your parents will take the money you put into your savings account if their names are on it, and there will be nothing you can do to stop them. OP says, my father's name is on my account. Does this mean he has access to my money? Tiltburger says, abusive as fuck. Also that he can enter the bathroom. Can't you lock it? You have someone to talk to. OP says, I'm not allowed to lock any of the doors in the house. They think that means I'm hiding something, and I don't know who I would talk to. I don't think they are abusive. They're actually quite nice to me often. Money is just one thing they're not nice about. My dad came from a less fortunate background, and my mum is used to being spoiled. She's the youngest girl of like 13 siblings, and her family comes from money. Medical Temperature asks OP, they said, sounds like you're rejecting all sensible solutions. What is your end goal? OP responded saying, I don't know. I'm literally just scared. Everyone's saying that my parents are being abusive, which is something I've never really thought before, and telling me to move my money and defend myself, which is easier said than done. I seriously appreciate the solutions and I wish it were that easy, but put yourself in my shoes for a second. I know my parents. I know how they react and what that can mean for me, which is why I might be apprehensive about some of the solutions I've been given. OP came in to then update their post and says, it's been a while. I kind of stopped replying to comments and stuff because they were getting kind of overwhelming, but thanks for everyone who took the time to respond. If you didn't read/don't feel like it, basically I got my first job and my first paycheck, $500. My parents felt like all of my money was rightfully theirs. Long story short, I ended up with $180 left of $500 and only up to $100 of those were towards myself. Now for the actual update. So since my last paycheck, nothing has gotten better at all. I ended up giving a total of like $200 to my parents for whatever they wanted, but they still wanted more. Like first I had to pay for my own senior pictures, which was cool or whatever, but kind of surprising because none of my siblings ever had to do that. Then they started asking me for gas money. Like I had to go to the library, which is probably a 2-minute drive from my house. I would have walked, but I'm literally not allowed to. My mother was yelling at me and saying that if I was going to use her car, then I was going to have to put gas in it, which would be reasonable. Except that they don't make anyone else do that. But my 22-year-old brother actually drives their car, My mother gives him money out of my father's paycheck to put gas in it. But he's her favorite, so I guess it makes sense. Also, my father kept calling me stingy, like every day. Like I'd just be sitting eating dinner and he'd come up to me and be like, "My daughter, good at so many things, but so stingy." And it started getting to me. So I would try and explain, and I didn't have any more money until I got paid again. Then I got paid yesterday. It was like $500 again. And I was trying to hide it. Like I transferred the money from my bank account to my Cash App so that my father wouldn't see that I had any money. And if they asked, I could just play dumb. But today when I got home, my parents started interrogating me. Like they were asking me if I got paid or if I knew how much I was going to get paid. I was lying and saying no. But then my father literally pulled out a paper copy of my pay stub. My job still mails those out, and my parents open all my mail. Packages, college letters, school forms, etc. So unless I'm constantly intercepting the mail, I might always know how much I'm getting paid. And my mother was mad at me because last paycheck, I paid for her pedicure, and now she wants a manicure and a hair done. I tried to tell her I didn't have money, but she refused to believe that and said if I couldn't give her money, then I couldn't eat the food she worked so hard to make. She cooked today, so I just gave her $80 for her nails because I'm over arguing. This is kind of a sidetrack, but important-ish. But my parents are arguing right now. My father is spending significantly more money out of all of his paychecks because of something that my stay-at-home mum committed them to financially. But the thing is that she still expects to be able to keep up with all of her self-maintenance, clothes, nails, hair, etc. Long story short, she said that she didn't need his money anyway. And so when I sent her the money for her nails, she was bragging to him about how I gave her the money and not him. So then my father was upset because he thinks I only sent her money because we're both women. He said it kind of harsher than that. He has misogynistic tendencies because of culture he was raised in. So I ended up just giving him $80 to even it out. I gave them both $30 extra for gas money, so they would stay off my ass. It should be over, right? No, it's not, because I got in trouble for lying about getting paid. They think I'm lying because I plan on blowing it all on myself, which isn't true. I was going to save this check to make up for what I spent over the last one. But now they think I'm selfish, stingy, and financially irresponsible. So they're going to start limiting my spending of my own money. And then the school year and my birthday around the corner. I'm pretty sure they're not going to let me go out to dinner for my birthday like I planned. But that's not a money thing. I'm just not really allowed to go out. There's so much more I could say about my parents, but that could probably be 15 different posts. I don't know if they'd even be appropriate for this sub. But thanks again for reading if you do. I'm sorry if this makes not a lot of sense. I'm just really tired. Like I'm over this whole thing. Wish I had somewhere else to vent, but I literally don't. Thanks for listening, people. Foolishness says to OP, a school counselor, for fuck's sake, please. Your parents are so immature. You'll never be able to trust them when it comes to money. Please just talk to someone. This isn't right. OP says I'll try, but the last time I tried to talk to a counselor, I got in huge trouble. Like I couldn't go to in-person school, so I wouldn't do it again. Arabella says that sucks. What kind of classes are they that you have to pay for? You're a student in high school, right? There shouldn't be any mandatory costs. OP says it's kind of hard to explain, but I'll try. I go to a trade high school, so the goal is to get students ready to work straight after graduation. It's not like other high schools where the goal is to get students ready for college. So the amount of credits necessary to graduate from my school is less than most four-year universities accept. So if I want to go to a decent college or uni, I have to take extra classes. But since those aren't a graduation requirement, I have to pay for them. Like to graduate from my school, you need 3 math and no foreign language. Most colleges want at least 4 math and 1 foreign language. I'm taking a total of 6 math, 2 of them this school year, and 1 foreign language. So I have to pay for all of those. Hope this makes it clear. And I just want to read the top comment on this one as well, because like this comment, it broke my heart reading this particular part. Weasel Panty says, in quotes, "I don't think they're abusive. They're actually nice to me quite often." And says, "This just broke my heart. It's really common for abused people to think they aren't really abused because their abusers are nice to them when not abusing them. I suspect that one of the main motivations of her abusive parents is to make sure she never saves money so she'd be trapped with them." And that was my thought as I was reading this, like they're constantly siphoning off money for this, than that from OP, which is going to leave OP stuck in the same position. The more money she earns, the more they're going to want, etc, etc. I hope someone in OP's life steps up and helps them out of that situation, because it sounds absolutely horrific. The way they're being controlled, their money taken away from them, can't go anywhere themselves, their mail is being opened. It sounds horrific. But what would you suggest to OP in this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story is going to come from the Pro Revenge subreddit from Fabine, who says, "We reverse gazumped a greedy landlord, and it was glorious." Gazumping occurs when an agent or seller accepts an offer you make to buy a property at an agreed price, but the property is sold to someone else. This usually happens when the vendor sells the property for a higher amount. This happened 15 years ago, and it was one of the proudest moments of my life. My best friend and her husband have 5 kids together. They lived in an expensive city and rented an old bedroom house for $400 per week. The house was very run down with a disgusting kitchen and stink drains, but it was all they could afford at the time. Still, they made it work. The owner was a nice old lady who was extremely wealthy and very fond of my friend. She froze the rent for 5 years and promised to let them buy the house once they have saved enough to get a loan from the bank, as she had helped other people in a similar way. They knew they could trust her, and so they saved every cent they could. It took them 5 years, but they finally told her they were ready. 2 days later, the nice old lady passed away before anything was put in writing. Enter the new owners, the lady's 4 children, each extremely wealthy in their own right. They inherited a huge portfolio of properties. When they first spoke to my friends, they assured them that the sale would still go through, but they would have to wait until probate had settled. Confident, my friends started making some changes to the place. They started by stripping wallpaper, painting, and making plans. Finally, probate was settled, and the owners agreed to go ahead with the sale for the previously agreed price. My friends applied for the loan, but to their shock, it was refused. The owners had raised the asking price by $80,000 without telling my friends. To make things even worse, the house would be put on the open market. In 7 days, there would be an open house, and with the market the way it was, it would probably sell immediately. My friends were devastated. They might be able to borrow enough, but it would take longer than a week to get. To make matters worse, property prices soared recently and rents had gone up a lot whilst theirs had been frozen. Not only were my friends going to struggle to get the money, if the place was sold to someone else and they were asked for a higher rent or evicted, it would be nearly impossible to find an affordable place with more than 2 bedrooms. I was scared for my friends, but I was also incandescently angry. Those greedy sods were some of the wealthiest people in the city. They were screwing over a struggling family for less than $20,000 each. They didn't need the money. It was pure greed, and it was obvious that they'd always planned to do this. So while my friends scrambled to come up with the money, I started plotting. I looked up advice on what helps to make a sale. We needed to make the place as undesirable as possible without making my friends look like bad tenants. Uncluttered, we moved all the furniture in from the walls, added some extra furniture, and borrowed ornaments and hung a load of motorcycle memorabilia on the walls. The place felt more smaller. Smell. My friend boiled a head of cabbage on the stove, and we sprayed ammonia around the front and back doors, because it smells like all the neighborhood cats had been marking their territory. We also poured 24 rotten eggs down the drain to make it smell like sewer gas. Neighborhood. We obtained a moldy old couch and dumped it in the front yard of a neighbor across the road. With permission, of course. Neighborhood times 2. We started calling friends for help. Anybody with a loud, crappy car we asked to do a few laps in front of the block during the open day. The street was unusually busy that day. Everyone new found a reason to drive by. It was practically rush hour. Neighborhood 3. We called out mates from the rugby club. Full contact football without any of that soft padding. A big portion of our club are very large men. The next door neighbor set up a barbecue in their front yard, and we offered free food and cheap beer. They came on motorcycles wearing their roughest gear. It was quite a crowd. A lot of people showed up for the open day. Quite a few were in and out within minutes, One lady sat in her car and watched the party next door before driving away. The one bloke who stayed any length of time was brave enough to start up a conversation with someone leaving the party. He asked if they were often there and was told every couple of weeks or so, have an after party morning, and the party the night before was 3 doors up. The partygoer also helpfully mentioned the troublesome drains that are always getting blocked by tree roots and stinking up the place. The potential buyer left without making an offer. So my friends were the only ones to make an offer. They still had to pay more money than they had planned, but not as much as the greedy bastards wanted. My friends signed the papers and paid a deposit that day. So when the brave buyer put in an offer of $30,000 more than my friends, there was nothing the owners could do about it. Strict anti-gazumping laws. I would have loved to see the owners' faces when they found out. For all the people who were saying they had cheap rent, they didn't. $400 was the rent in 2004, and that was pretty high back then. By the time the lady died, average rent for a house that size had only gone up by about $40. Nowadays, 4-bedroom houses in that area go for approximately $800 per week. Oh, to be a neighbor watching that shit go down. You know I love a neighbor story like that, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.